Good evening. Today I'm going to do some long awaited uh, Christmas cases, and I hope you enjoy them. Case number one is called the chocolate pie. These are for judges and people that work with families. This case is called the chocolate pie. This man, it's Christmas season, and the house is all, you can smell the cooking everywhere. And the man knows that he's got his private little chocolate pie that he likes to put whipped cream on. And so, with everybody playing around, he goes into the kitchen. He opens the kitchen door and he sees his chocolate pie is torn to pieces. It's just a shambles. It's one of the ugliest chocolate pies you've ever seen. Something happened to it. So he calls his children in and he says, "Hey, does anybody know anything about this chocolate pie? What happened to it?" And they're all sitting there shaking their heads. "No, Daddy." And he looks back and he takes another glance and he notices that there's a little 4 year old, and they're all shaking their heads and he's shaking his head no. And he notices this little 4 year old's got chocolate all over his face. He's got chocolate on his shirt, on his arms. And he looks back and he says, "Well, you sure you don't know nothing about it?" And they're all still shaking their heads. And he says, "Okay, well, you can go play." And then he says, "Hey, take John in there, wash his hands and face." And they say, "Yes, Daddy." And they go off in there. Now, the the reason he knew who did it, but the reason that he didn't scold the little boy is because he knew that it would have affected him all of his life. It would have affected him all of his life. And that little boy was always worth more than a chocolate pie. And he realized that. And that little boy, uh, they had a good holiday that season. They had a good holiday that season. Now, anyway, so sometimes thinking before you react goes a long way, especially with children. Now, story number two, case number two, true stories. Case number two is called The Doll, Doll. The Doll. The man comes home. It's on the holiday, the day you do the half a day. He comes home and he hears the family all going at it, having fun, getting ready for the festivities. And he shuts the door behind him and he kind of moseys his way across the living room into the kitchen. You could smell the cooking going on, the pies, the cooking going on, and he there's always a hot pot of coffee in the house. So he goes in there and gets him a cup and pours him a nice fresh cup of coffee. And he's standing at the counter and he hears his voice say he's had a bad day today. And as he's putting his cream and sugar in his coffee, the voice continues. He took this truck for his school, um, a school party, and it was a really nice truck. He paid extra for it. And he knew the little boy that got his truck was going to be well pleased with his Christmas gift. Well, when it come his turn, the little second grader, when it come his turn, they run out of boys' gifts. So they gave him a doll. And the man said, "A girl doll?" And yeah, a girl doll. And the boy, the kid's on the bus, he come home. He was real upset and crying like, and the kid's on the bus. He got a doll. He got a doll. So he says, wow. So he takes his coffee and goes to the table, and here come holding his head down a little boy. And the father says, "I heard about your day." He said, "Hello, Daddy." He said, "I heard about your day." He said, "Why don't you do something for me? Go get it. Let me see it." So the little boy says, "Yes, Daddy." And he goes and gets it, and he comes back there. And he hands it up to his father. The man takes the little doll, and he looks it over, and he calls out the manufacturer's name. And he says, "Yeah, that's a pretty good quality doll." And the little boy's looking at him. And he says, "You may come out on this yet." He said, "That's a real good quality doll." He said, "You got two sisters." And he said that, he told the little boy, he said, you know, they got money, and they got other things. And he said, you could probably trade this off. Come out with a good deal on it. You could probably trade this little doll off. You come out on it yet. Well, here you go, he says. The little boy took the doll, and he goes down the hallway. The man goes back and pours himself another cup of coffee, and he's stirring it up. And he hears a little voice down the hall. Says, "Hey, I got me something here." And he calls out the manufacturer's name. "It's a real good doll," he hears the little boy say. "It's a good doll. It's a good quality doll." He calls out the manufacturer's name. He says, "I might be wanting to trade this. I might just trade this." And one of the sisters says, "Well, let me have a look." And the other one says, "Well, let me have a look." Now that little boy, he come out on that doll. He did really good on that doll. Now, sometimes a little guidance can just make all the world of difference. Guidance in the right way. Now, he grew up to be the go-to man, always carrying candy bar in his backpack and stuff, all through junior high and high school. He was always coming out on little deals and stuff. Now, just a little bit of guidance. Now, the last one, this case is called The Trial. Yeah, The Trial. Man's sitting in his living room, and here comes these loud voices, and they're coming up toward the door, and all of a sudden the door busts open, and here come in these kids, and they're all going at it. They're going at it big time. And he says, "Whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here?" And one says the sister done this, and the sister says the other boy done this. So the man comes up with an idea, and he says, "Hey," he said, "I tell you what, we'll have ourselves a little trial right here. We'll settle this argument right now." And he appoints the older daughter to represent the little boy. And he appoints the oldest son to represent the little girl. And you all go off now, and you come back, and we'll start this thing going. And they did, and they came back, and this man, he had never, all he'd ever heard of was he'd seen Perry Mason and Ben Matlock. He didn't know nothing about nothing. But having that trial over that little thing, they went out of the house after it was over, and their highlight of their day, it was all set. They settled it on their own. The highlight of their day was the family having a little trial and everybody working things out verbally. So, a tip for a lot of attorneys and judges and all that and stuff is Oliver Wendell Holmes, the great Oliver Wendell Holmes, too, Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes. He asked a client one time, "Well, what did you expect?" And the client said, "Well, I expected justice." And he replies, "Well, you can't get justice in a court of law. This is a court of law, not justice." Now, I'd like to add on to that Oliver Wendell Holmes phrase a little bit there. And I'd like for all judges and stuff to remember that these people got in fixes that they don't know how they got into. And it just piled up on them a little bit at a time. And when they're in that courtroom, they're in a hearing room, courtroom, or something, they're not looking for law. Don't know nothing about it. They're not looking for justice. Don't know what it is. But when they look up there and they see somebody like a father, or they see this figure up there on a bench, person's in black, been there, done that. They're thinking this person is going to get me out of here today. This person's going to take care of everything. That's why we're here. But they're scared to death. And they're not looking for law or justice. No. They're looking up there. And remember this. Always remember this. Those people that come through them courtrooms, they're up there. They're looking for intelligence. That's exactly what they're looking for. Nothing else. Not law, not just. They're looking for intelligence. Somebody that's going to do the right thing. We have oh so less of that these days, and we need more of that. We need more people that are concerned about people and stop to think before you harm a little child, before you harm anyone mentally the rest of their life, that they'll never go out of their head. And to harm a child is just, it stays with you. I have one. I have one from when I was 12 years old, and I'll die with it. I'll die with it, the injury. And David Wayne Ferguson, Kentucky Law Scholars. I hope these stories help. I hope you enjoy this. These were true cases. I was that father in all those cases. And Kentucky Law Scholars need your help. And if you have anything left, you know, send it to Kentucky Law Scholars, care of University of Kentucky Federal Credit Union, in Lexington, and any branch will do. But I hope you enjoy those true cases there. Happy holiday, David Wayne Ferguson.